Gemini, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your August 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So now we're talking about August, and one of the big stories for Gemini in August is that Mars is in your sign. This is the first time that Mars has been in your sign since March of 2023. So you might feel very energetic having that shot of energy for the first time in a year and a half. And this means that Mars is transiting through your first house of the self. And this can include the body. So it might even be that Gemini people go on this whole new exercise routine or whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying every one of you, but yeah, you could just be feeling like you have more energy. Not that you need it. A lot of you are already at least high strung, if not, physically very active. But this is actually beginning on July 20th. So if you're listening before then, just keep that in mind. And Mars will be in Gemini throughout the whole month of August. The Sun is in the house that you rule when the month begins in Leo, because Leo is your third house. Of course, this is a general forecast, so your house placements might be a little bit different. If you're listening for the sun sign, you have your whole natal chart that could be totally different too, so keep that in mind. So Leo being the third house means that it's going to exemplify the kind of things that you're about anyway, being a Gemini. Even as a Gemini ascendant, some of those themes may be very important in your life as well. What is Gemini? Well, Gemini rules that third house where the Leo transits are going through. The Sun being the one that I'm referring to, but also what other planets are in Leo? Well, Mercury is going to go back into the third house. But Mercury rules the third house in astrology, and so it deals with communication. And this can be, like if we talk about professions, it can be teaching, can be journalism, a writer, things like that. If you are a YouTuber, you'd think I'd have third house placements, but I don't have any. But my North Node is in Gemini, so what are you gonna, and my Jupiter's in Gemini too, so there you go. So, but anyway, you have, with Mars in your sign, this could be also hinting at what you are driven to do in August, which could be that you have something to say, Gemini, something very important to say. And it may be the vehicle of how you say it that is really coming into play, because on the 4th, we have a new moon at 12 degrees of Leo. And so this means that there are new developments in that house that you rule in astrology, that third house. You could be starting a new website. You could be, and you may have already started it. Maybe it's starting to take off. Or if you have a YouTube channel, you're starting to get some traction and you're able to actually communicate with people because you actually have people to communicate with. That's just one of those things. When you're starting a YouTube channel, you have to kind of slog it out there for a while you feel like you're talking to yourself sometimes, especially nowadays, I would say. Sometimes it's, back in the day, it's like TikTok is probably a lot easier to gain an audience for the average person. I don't know. But in any case, any of these things can be new developments for you. Maybe you're taking new courses to get credentialed in a certain area, or you have a teaching assignment that comes in. But on the same day, Venus goes into Virgo, which is your 4th house of home and family. So we have to talk about, how the 3rd house and 4th house have common traits, okay? One of them is that the third house can be your siblings, your aunts, uncles, or cousins, so family members. And the fourth house can be your mother. Some people say the father, so one of your parents. So that's, you have a new moon in this house of siblings, and then you have Venus on the same day in that house of the mother. So harmony, it's very harmonious, because even the new moon can be a good thing. It doesn't, I wouldn't say that the new moon is always going to be that something is necessarily on the positive side, in the house that it's in. It just means new developments. But that is one possibility, that you're just, maybe you're finally getting along with your family better. Another thing that these two houses have in common is that the third house is the house of neighbors, and the fourth house is the house of real estate, the home that you live in. So the new moon in the third house could be new neighbors, and the fourth house, Venus, could be maybe you have money for, some kind of new property, and therefore you have new neighbors. Maybe you are I don't know about renovating, painting your house or something where you're beautifying it, and that gives you like some kind of way that you meet neighbors for the first time, or people in your local area too. It could be something along those lines, but it's very harmonious. The next day, Mercury retrogrades at 4 degrees of Virgo in that fourth house of home and family. So if you had money in escrow on a house, be careful. I'm telling you ahead of time, because Mercury can be contracts, and the fourth house can be like a sale of a home. And certainly people have lost money this way, not reading the fine print and following the rules, or maybe there being some kind of a mistake. But also keep in mind that Mercury is very fast-moving energy. So even if something is screwed up, you can rectify it in a fairly short period of time. But knowing ahead of time, being extra, extra, extra careful can be very good. And, some people choose not to sign contracts during Mercury retrogrades, which last about 3.5 weeks. Obviously, there are certain circumstances where that would be dumb as hell, because it might be a special deal and somebody else is going to snap up a house. I hear when there's like a competitive housing market that people say that sometimes people will, put a bid that's over the asking price just to get the house, and that's how competitive it can be sometimes. So I'm certainly not suggesting that people just like avoid it, like saying, oh my God, that's bad luck, but then not even get the house and it's something that you really wanted, but just being super careful. On the 14th, Mercury goes back into Leo, so it goes back into that third house. This can also be, by the way, when Mercury goes retrograde, that there's a misunderstanding with you and one of your parents, and that somehow affects your relationship with your siblings. Obviously, misunderstandings can be rectified if people don't just like listen to gossip if they go to the horse's mouth and don't take the word of other people. If they don't jump the gun and just make assumptions without, going half-cocked, that kind of thing, that won't be a big thing. And misunderstandings happen, but that doesn't have to lead to this kind of downward spiral. Yeah, there also with anything, if you're planning to do like work on a house or anything, the third house might be the local ordinances. And maybe you thought you could do something and they're telling you you can't do it, and you have to iron that out. But remember that you do have Venus in your fourth and the sun in your third. So those are both positive influences. On the 19th, we have a full moon at 27 degrees of Aquarius, fellow air sign, and coming from the ninth house, which is the house of God, the house of, life philosophy, and the kind of like the higher mind. And it's also the house, so it's the house of academia, the house of long distance travel. Full moons can bring things to a culmination. Maybe you have been traveling and you're finishing a trip, and it's like kind of the grand finale. Certainly this is late summer in the northern hemisphere. That would definitely be in alignment with a lot of people's vacation schedules. But it might be finishing college, getting that diploma finally. Maybe it finally gets sent in the mail, and now you can fully say that you have a degree or that you've graduated. It can be a spiritual download that really helps you to make a decision on the next phase of your life in some cases. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Virgo. So the sun goes into that domesticated area. You may feel the urge to be more of a homebody, taking care of your home, taking pleasure in your home. Maybe you've come back from a trip far away and you're enjoying being at home again. On the 28th, Mercury goes direct at 21 degrees of Leo. Oh, one thing I should say about the third house is that it can be sales. It can be your business. It can be business in general and sales. So maybe there's something along those lines that gets somehow screwed up a little bit, a contract of some sort, but you now have the ability to gain clarity and move forward in whatever this was, if anything does manifest. I just had something that was like a series of errors with a bank card, and it was not Mercury retrograde. It was not Mercury in its shadow period, and it still happened. So that's just what the honest to God truth. And sometimes during Mercury retrograde, you don't have any problems. On the 29th, Venus goes into Libra, another air sign, and this time in a very romantic area, the fifth house of love, but also creativity. So for those of you for whom this Mars energy and this new moon energy in the third is a writing project, for instance, this can get your artistic juices flowing with Venus in the house of creativity, but definitely love related too. Venus is romantic. Fifth house can be love. So it's also the house of pleasure. And it's like Venus can take pleasure in anything that you enjoy. And by the way, with Mars in your sign, it might even be sports. Not necessarily creativity, but sports. The fifth house can be competitive sports, by the way. But truth be told, I see Venus as, less, as more languid and less active and just enjoying the pleasures of life. Not, how they say this thing, work hard, play hard. Well, it's not even about playing hard. It's about just, it might even be refined pleasures, like going to an art gallery or going to the theater or something along those lines. So, but yes, and it could even be a romantic situation. So there you have it, Gemini. I hope that you enjoyed this. If it resonates or if you would like a personal reading, I'm promoting my double readings called my deep dive readings because they are a package deal and therefore a special price. I sell these readings separately too. An hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for the upcoming 12 months for a special price. And if you like the tarot, there's one with all three that is called the whole enchilada. And I also have love readings, career readings. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.